Hey, what's up, everybody? 98 Sports Talk here. Just wanted to do a quick video on why I think Nick Saban is bad for the SEC. Well, and to be, more specific, he's been bad for the SEC, for years. Going forward, we'll talk about that, what I think about that at the end of the video, because I think the SEC is going to, it's going to change, I think, in the next few years for sure. Well, I'll get to that in a second. But, Saban, and look, this isn't a knock on Nick Saban. I think my personal thought on him is he's the best coach in college football history. I think he's eclipsed everybody, including Bear Bryant. I think he wants to continue. And I don't think he's going anywhere either. You hear some of the rumors of him possibly going to the Giants or possibly going back to the NFL. I mean, maybe that's I don't know Saban personally, and maybe that's a something he would entertain. But I don't think he wants to go. I think he wants to, stay at Alabama, continue doing what he's doing. And just, I think, and I think he's got a huge ego. And again, that's not a knock on him. I just, great coaches, great athletes, they tend to have big egos. And I think he just wants to bury all remnants of Bear Bryant there at Alabama, and I think he wants to be the man there, and I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just, he's been, but so since he's been so good at Alabama, that is the exact reason why he's been bad for the SEC. I mean, you look at, take Alabama's top rival, which is Auburn, and they get matched up every year there in the Iron Bowl. You take a look back, and coaches like Tuberville, Gene Chizik. I think both of these. I don't want to say Saban ran both of these guys off, and he certainly was not the only reason that both those guys did not last longer than they did. But I certainly think he was definitely a factor in it. I mean, it got to neither of them. I think Tuberville. Right when Saban got there, I think Tuberville basically left. Chiswick did have some issues, but I definitely think I mean let's be real. If they could have beaten Saban, then they would probably still be there, right? I mean, come on, that's your main rival. And then even you look at Gus Malzahn. He was about to get fired because the knock on him was, of course, he could not beat Alabama, and he hadn't beaten Georgia in the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. And what ended up, it's kind of strange how that situation worked out. They Auburn ends up beating Alabama and Georgia, and then gets locked out of the playoff because they can't beat Georgia again. But you look at that situation, and Malzahn, I truly believe if he had lost even one of those games, if he would have lost to Georgia or Alabama, he probably, I think he would have been gone. And that's unfortunate because I mean, you look at those coaches. I mean, and you guys can debate me on this. Let me know what you think in the comments, obviously. But I think Tuberville was a good coach. Chiswick, I don't know. I think he was a pretty decent coach, but I thought Tuberville was a pretty darn good coach. I think Malzahn, again, he's not an elite coach, but I think he's a pretty darn good coach there at Auburn. And these guys could easily, and again, if Malzahn should really almost not even be there. Had he, it was kind of a miracle that he won both of those games. So that would have been another coach that Saban would have been, been instrumental in running off there in Malzahn. But and the list goes on too. I mean, you look at Les Miles. Les Miles is really the perfect example. If I mean, because if Saban is not at Alabama doing what he's been doing, right or wrong, whatever LSU fans think about Les Miles is still at LSU, 100% guaranteed. And Les Miles probably has another, national championship or two under his belt if Nick Saban wasn't there. So, Saban's run off coaches at Auburn. He's run off a coach at LSU. I think he ended up getting, he was part of the reason Mark Richt at Georgia eventually got let go. Now, Richt I think he was the only coach that probably lasted so long. under Saban. But in the end, it was kind of a Jeremy Pruitt situation there, which some of the top brass at Georgia was supposedly not happy with. But at the end of the day, I mean, Georgia could have won that. I think it was 2012 where Georgia was just seconds away from beating Alabama, to win the SEC. Had Georgia done that, would they have gone on to win a national championship? That 2012 team for Georgia was really, really good. Um, other years Georgia could have done something, and but again, when you don't get those championships, when Saban's getting them all, it hurts. If Rick would have had a SEC championship in 2012, he still might be at Georgia. So that's another guy. Who's the other? Oh yeah, Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer at Florida. That no, Urban had the medical issues, which, I mean, if anybody really thinks he had medical issues, I mean, I don't know what you're thinking about. I don't know, because, I mean, clearly, I don't think he had any medical issues because he was at Ohio State, the next season, or what was it, two seasons at most? He sat out one season, I think. I mean, from my memory serves me correctly, he pretty much went straight up there. So I think it was a combination of he saw the writing on the wall. He wasn't going to beat Saban, and expectations at Florida were so high, so he just said, "Screw it! I'm just going to go to the Big Ten, where winning at the time was very, very easy. All he had to do was beat Michigan, and basically he could just get in the national championship, right? Game immediately, pretty much." So I think Saban had a big hand in running Urban Meyer off. So and then you look at, so those are the coaches that, in my opinion, I'm not going to say he had everything to do with running these coaches off, because that is certainly not the case. But had he not been so darn good, these other coaches would have, gotten. I mean, it's all a snowball effect. They would have had, more championships, more national championships in Les Miles cases, which equals, better recruits, better teams, etc. And then so you've got those coaches were the ones that were run off because of Les Miles. How many coaches didn't want to coach in the SEC because of Saban? Take Tennessee, for instance, which has been a complete dumpster fire, and I'm probably going to do a video on Tennessee shortly. Take them under, who could they have hired? Could they have gotten somebody? Well, could they have gotten somebody better than Butch Jones? Of course they could have. I mean, we know that now looking back, but how many programs could have brought somebody in that would have been a better coach, if they would have been comfortable coming into the SEC and competing, rather than knowing, well, geez, if I go coach for LSU, let's say, or Auburn, let's say, I've got to play Saban every single year. Tennessee has to play Alabama every single year. Even though Tennessee's in the East, Alabama is their one rival in their crossover games, so they've got to play him every year. So Saban just really, I mean, he's really made it tough on the SEC from a coaching standpoint, and he's really hurt the SEC. And that's because he's been so good. And I don't think Bama's going anywhere. I mean, what do you guys think? I don't want to I don't want to do it. I'm probably going to do a video on who I think will be in the playoff at some point. Maybe when recruiting's over, maybe a few days from now. I don't know. But Alabama's definitely going to be in there in the top. I mean, top. They'll probably make the playoff next year. Let's be real. I don't want to tell you exactly what I think of them right now. If you guys, um, I'm curious to see what you guys think of them, though. Do you guys think they're a national championship team next year with Tua? Because I don't think Jalen Hurts is starting. So what do you guys think about their recruiting class? And I'm probably going to do a video on recruiting too. I know I'll be doing more Georgia. I've been looking at Bama's recruiting a little bit, but let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think I'm just crazy that Nick Saban is bad for the SEC. I mean, I don't see how you can really debate it. I mean, he's been pretty bad, bad for the SEC, even though he's kind of floating the SEC's boat, so to speak, winning the national championships. But again, if he wasn't there, Les Miles would have. I'm sure Les Miles would have won at least one more national championship. I mean, LSU had some really good teams back in the day. Georgia, may have gotten one. Other teams would have been in the mix, so it wouldn't have been. Bama wouldn't have had to kind of total on. I mean, there would have been other teams stepping up if Saban wasn't so good. So if you say that Saban is not bad for the SEC, let me know why in the comments section. I'm curious because I don't see how he's not bad for the SEC. But again, I'm not hating on Bama. I'm not hating on Saban. I'm just saying since he's been so good, he's just been bad for the league. But I do, and like I said at the beginning of the video, I think that's going to change too. And I'll probably do a video on that coming up as well. I'm gonna have a kind of an SEC focus going forward. But I think things are gonna start to change now with Kirby Smart at Georgia. I think Tennessee's gonna be on the upswing. Florida's gonna be on the upswing. Jimbo Fisher at A&M. We'll see about Mississippi State. I'm not so sure about their that school. They've got the coaching change. Auburn's always going to be in the mix. So the SEC is going to be quote unquote. Everybody likes to say they're back. Or whatever team's back or conference is back. Usually it's a team, obviously, but I think the SEC is going to be back in 2 to 3 years, maybe even 1 to 2 years, something like that. Because I think and I think a big component of that is going to be the recruiting. I think Jimbo Fisher is going to get some players. Kirby Smart is obviously going to get players. I mean, Kirby's gotten almost all of them. Kirby's almost, I mean, he is outdoing Saban in the recruiting battle right now. And Jeremy Pruitt up in Tennessee is known to be a very, very good recruiter too. And we'll see what Dan Mullen can do down in Florida, and maybe Orgeron at LSU if LSU can ever get a quarterback. But you guys let me So I think the SEC is going to turn around. You're going to see the East get a heck of a lot better. The West I think will improve just with Jimbo Fisher, and again Auburn's going to be tough there. And I'm not saying Alabama's going anywhere. If you're a Bama fan, I'm not hitting the panic button, so to speak, on Alabama. They're still going to be a elite team. Not only very good, they're still going to be elite. But I guess what I'm saying is Bama's not going to get every single recruit going forward. You're going to see other teams like Georgia getting recruits, A&M getting recruits, Tennessee getting recruits, Florida, getting some. I think Georgia's going to be the class of the East, followed by Tennessee and Florida. But let me know what you guys think. Wanted to do just I know it's not a Saban hate video, but I just think he's been really bad. Just something been on my mind. I just think he's been bad for the SEC in general, just because he's been so good. But if you guys watch this whole video, hit the sub button for me, please. I would appreciate it. You're gonna be doing, like I said, a lot of SEC talk. And if you guys got any ideas for future videos, be sure to let me know down in the comments section.